For decades, they were the women everyone believed would stay beautiful forever. The faces that defined Hollywood. The smiles we watched on movie screens, the haircuts millions of women tried to copy, the icons who seemed completely untouchable. But behind the cameras, behind the red carpets, something changed. In an industry terrified of aging, mirrors began to lie, and the needles never seemed to stop. Tonight, we're uncovering 15 legendary Hollywood beauties whose faces shocked the world when cosmetic procedures went too far. Some stories will leave you stunned. Some will break your heart. And the woman at number 1 started a conversation that shook the entire entertainment industry. If you love classic Hollywood stories like this, make sure to subscribe, because every week we uncover the secrets behind the legends. Now let's begin with a woman who didn't just change. She disappeared completely. Donna Mills. Before streaming, before binge-watching, and long before social media created instant celebrities, primetime television had its own royalty. And in the 1980s, one of its most unforgettable queens was Donna Mills. But Donna didn't become famous for playing the sweet girl next door. She became famous for being the woman audiences loved to hate. As Abby Cunningham on Knots Landing, Donna Mills created one of the most captivating villains in television history. Abby wasn't loud. She wasn't reckless. She was calculating, elegant, and dangerously charming. The kind of character who could destroy you with a smile. And that smile became instantly iconic. Donna's beauty had a kind of precision rarely seen on television at the time. Her face looked almost architectural, sharp cheekbones, a perfectly defined jawline, and skin so smooth it seemed almost porcelain under studio lights. But the real signature was her eyes. Those dramatic, cat-shaped eyes became a cultural phenomenon. Women across America walked into department store makeup counters holding photos of Donna Mills, asking makeup artists one question: "Can you make my eyes look like hers?" For years, that look defined an era. But unlike some actresses who faded quietly after their biggest roles, Donna stayed very much in the public eye. She continued appearing in television, interviews, and public events well into the following decades. And that visibility made the changes impossible to ignore. Over time, the razor-sharp definition that once framed her face began to soften. The strong angles that made Abby Cunningham so striking slowly disappeared beneath a rounder fullness. The crisp structure fans remembered from Knots Landing was replaced by smoother, softer contours. For longtime viewers, the shift was jarring. Many struggled to reconcile the woman they remembered from the screen with the face they were now seeing in interviews and photographs. Donna herself has remained largely private about her cosmetic journey. She has never publicly detailed what procedures she may or may not have had. But the before and after images tell a story all their own. Still, focusing only on the transformation misses something important about Donna Mills. Because behind the glamorous villain audiences adored, she was quietly doing something extremely rare for women in television at the time. Donna had significant creative influence over her characters' storylines. At a time when female actors were often expected to simply read the script and stay silent, Mills helped shape Abby Cunningham into one of the most complex female characters on television. She wasn't just the beautiful face audiences loved to watch. She helped write the story, which makes the way people now talk about her appearance feel a little ironic. Because Donna Mills was always far more powerful behind the scenes than most people ever realized. And sometimes, the most interesting transformations in Hollywood aren't the ones that happen on a face. They're the ones that happen behind the camera. Janice Dickinson. Before social media created influencers, before the word supermodel became a brand, there was Janice Dickinson. And according to Janice herself, she wasn't just a supermodel. She was the world's first supermodel. Loud, fearless, and impossible to ignore, Janice dominated the fashion world throughout the 1970s and 1980s. Magazine covers, international campaigns, runway shows, she was everywhere. With her striking bone structure and intense gaze, photographers adored her. In her prime, Janice Dickinson looked almost unreal. Her cheekbones were razor-sharp, her jawline perfectly sculpted, and her naturally full lips gave her face a bold, sensual balance that cameras absolutely loved. Her beauty was powerful because it wasn't delicate or fragile. It was fierce, untamed, the kind of face that could command attention from across an entire room. But Janice Dickinson has never been known for moderation. Not in her personality, not in her career, and eventually, not in her pursuit of perfection. Over the years, she began experimenting with cosmetic procedures in an effort to maintain the same striking image that had once made her a global modeling icon. At first, the changes were subtle. Then they became impossible to ignore. Her lips expanded far beyond their original proportions. The once sharp angles of her face became lifted, stretched, and heavily filled. The raw geometry that had once defined her beauty slowly disappeared beneath layers of injections and surgical enhancements. By the time Janice appeared on reality television and later on America's Next Top Model, many viewers struggled to recognize the legendary model they remembered from the covers of fashion magazines. And yet, in classic Janice fashion, she rarely admitted anything. At one point she famously insisted, "I don't get anything in my cheeks. I have perfect bone structure, and my lips are mine." The public was not entirely convinced, but the most dramatic chapter of her cosmetic journey happened years later on the medical reality show Botched. Janice sought help to repair complications from an old breast implant surgery. During the episode, she publicly accused the surgeon of performing poor work. The surgeon fired back with a startling claim. According to him, Janice had removed her own surgical drains during recovery and refused to stop smoking while healing, two actions that could seriously complicate the procedure. The confrontation became one of the most talked about moments on the show. Yet in many ways, it perfectly captured the essence of Janice Dickinson. She has always been larger than life. Brilliant, chaotic, unpredictable. The kind of person who can turn even a hospital recovery room into the center of a dramatic Hollywood story. And perhaps that's why, even after decades of controversy, Janice Dickinson remains impossible to ignore. Because love her or criticize her, she has never been anything less than unforgettable. Vivica Fox. Some actresses respond to public criticism with silence. Some disappear. Some quietly avoid the subject altogether. Vivica Fox has never been one of those people. From the very beginning of her career, Vivica built a reputation for something Hollywood rarely sees: unapologetic confidence. When she appeared opposite Will Smith in the global blockbuster Independence Day, she didn't fade into the background like many supporting characters. She commanded the screen. Fierce, charismatic, and effortlessly glamorous, Vivica had the kind of presence that made audiences feel like she could handle anything life threw at her. And she proved it again and again. In Set It Off, she played a woman pushed to the edge by injustice. In Kill Bill, she stood toe-to-toe with Uma Thurman in one of the film's most intense fight sequences. Through it all, her look remained unmistakable. Radiant skin, a bold, brilliant smile, and a sharply defined jawline that framed her face with powerful elegance. Vivica looked like someone who wasn't just surviving in Hollywood. She was owning it. But in recent years, audiences began noticing a dramatic shift. The strong, angular definition that once shaped her cheeks and jaw slowly gave way to something very different. Her mid-face appeared fuller, rounder, pushing her natural features outward and softening the striking structure that once defined her appearance. For many celebrities, that kind of attention would trigger damage control. But not Vivica. When the topic came up in interviews, she responded with complete honesty and zero apology. Her philosophy was simple: if something makes you feel good about yourself, then do it. She once explained it in the most Vivica way possible: direct, confident, and entirely unbothered by public opinion. If you like it and you're comfortable with it, then that's what matters. That attitude has been part of her personality from the beginning. And the detail that perfectly captures who she is today might actually be the most delightful part of her story. Vivica reportedly converted an entire bedroom in her home into a professional glam room. Not just a vanity table. Not just a mirror. An entire room designed so she can wake up every morning and get ready like a Hollywood superstar. Lights, makeup stations, wardrobe space, the full experience. For Vivica, glamour isn't something reserved for movie sets or red carpets. It's a lifestyle. Now, whether people love her transformation or criticize it, one thing is impossible to deny. Vivica Fox has never let the public dictate how she should look, how she should age, or how she should feel about herself. And in an industry built on pressure and impossible beauty standards, that kind of confidence might be the most powerful transformation of all. Lara Flynn Boyle. Some transformations in Hollywood happen slowly. Others arrive like a mystery no one can fully explain. And few stories have puzzled fans more than the case of Lara Flynn Boyle. In the early 1990s, Boyle became one of the most striking faces on television thanks to David Lynch's cult phenomenon Twin Peaks. As the soft-spoken, mysterious Donna Hayward, she carried an almost hypnotic screen presence. Her beauty was unusual in the best possible way. Pale porcelain skin contrasted sharply with her dark hair. Razor-sharp cheekbones carved elegant shadows across her face. And her expressive eyes gave every scene an emotional depth that felt haunting and unforgettable. She wasn't just another pretty actress. She had a look audiences had never quite seen before. Following Twin Peaks, Boyle continued building a strong career. She joined the legal drama The Practice, earning critical praise, and later appeared as the seductive alien villain in Men in Black 2. By the late 1990s, she had firmly established herself as one of Hollywood's most distinctive leading women. But then the conversation about her appearance began. Gradually, fans noticed changes that seemed increasingly dramatic. The sharp facial structure that once defined her look appeared softened by heavy volume. Her cheeks became noticeably fuller, while her lips appeared significantly larger than before. Over time, the transformation became one of the most debated topics among Hollywood observers. What had happened to the striking face that once defined an entire television era? Yet, unlike some celebrities who openly address cosmetic procedures, Lara Flynn Boyle chose a completely different response. Silence. No public explanations. No interviews discussing the speculation. No attempts to clarify what may or may not have occurred. Eventually, she stepped away from the spotlight almost entirely. And perhaps that decision reflected something deeper about her personality. Because even during the height of Twin Peaks, Lara Flynn Boyle was known for her intensity behind the scenes. During the show's production, her real-life relationship with co-star Kyle MacLachlan reportedly created tension significant enough to influence the direction of the storyline itself. Drama, it seems, was never limited to the screen. Today, Boyle remains one of Hollywood's most enigmatic figures, a star whose transformation sparked endless conversation but whose voice has rarely entered that discussion. And sometimes, in a city obsessed with explanations, the mystery is what keeps the story alive. Melanie Griffith. Before the conversations about cosmetic procedures ever began, Melanie Griffith had already secured her place in Hollywood history. Her breakout role in Working Girl turned her into one of the most beloved stars of the late 1980s. Playing the determined and ambitious Tess McGill, Griffith captured something audiences rarely saw on screen at the time: a woman who was vulnerable, charming, and fiercely driven all at once. Her beauty perfectly matched that energy. Soft blonde hair framed a delicate face. Bright, expressive eyes carried both innocence and intelligence. And her natural bone structure gave her an effortless Hollywood glow that felt authentic rather than manufactured. Melanie Griffith represented the classic Hollywood ingenue, graceful, approachable, and undeniably captivating. But as the years passed, the pressure to maintain that youthful appearance began to show. Observers noticed significant changes in her facial features. Her lips appeared fuller than before, while her mid-face gradually became more filled, altering the delicate balance that once defined her natural look. The transformation sparked widespread discussion about the pressures women face in an industry that often expects them to remain frozen in time. Eventually, Griffith herself addressed those conversations. In later interviews, she openly admitted that some of the procedures had gone too far. She spoke candidly about dissolving certain fillers and stepping away from the constant pursuit of cosmetic perfection. But there is a lesser-known detail about Melanie's story that changes the way many people see it. Her complicated relationship with cosmetic procedures did not begin in a beauty clinic. It began in a hospital. As a teenager working on a film set, Melanie suffered a serious accident that caused significant facial injuries. The reconstructive surgeries required to repair that damage introduced her to cosmetic procedures long before most people ever consider them. In other words, the story people often assume was about vanity actually began with recovery. Years later, Melanie's daughter Dakota Johnson quietly honored her mother's legacy in a beautiful way. In 50 Shades Darker, Dakota recreated one of the famous office scenes from Working Girl, echoing the ambition and determination that made Melanie Griffith an icon decades earlier. It was a subtle tribute, but perhaps the most meaningful one of all. Because behind every Hollywood transformation is a far more complicated story than the headlines ever reveal. Daryl Hannah. In the 1980s, few actresses embodied cinematic magic quite like Daryl Hannah. She wasn't just another blonde starlet. She felt almost mythical, the haunting replicant in Blade Runner, the enchanting mermaid who captured Tom Hanks' heart in Splash. With those piercing blue eyes and wild golden hair, Hannah seemed less like a Hollywood actress and more like something out of a dream. But what truly made her unforgettable was her bone structure. High, sculpted cheekbones. A strong, angular jawline. A face that looked carved by nature itself. Sharp, striking, completely unique. It was the kind of beauty plastic surgeons spend entire careers trying to recreate. For years, audiences believed that face would remain timeless. But as time passed, subtle changes began appearing. The crisp geometry that once defined her features slowly softened. Volume replaced angles. The natural sharpness that made her face extraordinary gradually blurred beneath fuller contours. Then something even stranger happened. She vanished. Daryl Hannah quietly stepped away from Hollywood. No dramatic farewell. No explanations. No interviews addressing the speculations surrounding her appearance. Instead, she retreated into an entirely different life. Far from red carpets and flashing cameras, Hannah became deeply involved in environmental activism, dedicating herself to sustainability, farming, and ecological causes. The woman who once ruled movie screens chose a quieter existence, one focused on protecting the planet rather than maintaining celebrity. And here's the detail many people never knew. At the height of her fame, Daryl Hannah was romantically linked to John F. Kennedy Jr., and his future wife, Carolyn Bessette Kennedy, was reportedly one of Hannah's biggest admirers in New York's elite fashion circles. In other words, even her real life looked like a Hollywood script. Today, Hannah rarely addresses the rumors surrounding her appearance. No confirmation, no denial, just silence. And perhaps that's what makes her story feel so haunting. Because sometimes the most powerful statement in Hollywood is simply walking away. Emmanuelle Beart. Some transformations in Hollywood are surrounded by silence. But Emmanuelle Beart did something almost no one else on this list had the courage to do. She told the truth. The French actress rose to international fame in the 1980s with the film Manon de Sources, where her beauty was described by critics as almost otherworldly. With luminous skin, delicate bone structure, and eyes that seemed to glow with quiet intensity, Beart possessed the kind of timeless elegance that felt closer to classical art than modern celebrity. Her face had balance. Every feature worked in harmony, soft lips, graceful cheek contours, and a natural symmetry that made photographers obsessed with capturing her from every angle. Then, at just 27 years old, everything changed. Emmanuelle decided to undergo a cosmetic lip procedure, something that, at the time, seemed like a minor enhancement. Instead, it became the moment that permanently altered the delicate proportions of her face. The injections were botched. Her lips became unnaturally swollen, disrupting the subtle balance that had defined her beauty for years. But unlike many celebrities who quietly avoid discussing cosmetic procedures, Beart later spoke openly about what happened. She described the decision as a grave mistake, admitting that when people make these choices, they often don't fully understand the long-term consequences. "I had my mouth done when I was 27, she confessed. "It was a botched job." For many actors, an experience like that might have pushed them into hiding. Instead, Emmanuelle Beart chose a completely different path. She became an outspoken advocate for stricter regulations surrounding cosmetic procedures. She publicly argued that people seeking permanent changes to their faces should undergo deeper psychological evaluation before undergoing treatment. Because the emotional impact, she explained, can be far greater than anyone expects. Her honesty shocked the entertainment industry. In a world where celebrities often pretend nothing has changed, Emmanuelle Beart stood up and admitted something deeply human. Sometimes beauty isn't destroyed by time. Sometimes it's changed by a single decision made too quickly. And sometimes the bravest thing a person can do is simply admit the truth. Courteney Cox. For an entire generation of television viewers, Courteney Cox will always be Monica Geller. For 10 seasons on Friends, she played the fiercely competitive, endlessly lovable chef whose apartment became the heart of one of television's most beloved sitcoms. With her dark hair, striking blue eyes, and naturally defined cheekbones, Courteney had a beauty that felt effortlessly modern. It wasn't flashy. It wasn't exaggerated. It was simply balanced. Her lean jawline and natural facial structure framed a wide, genuine smile that audiences connected with immediately. The camera loved her because nothing about her look felt forced. But even someone as successful as Courteney Cox wasn't immune to Hollywood's relentless pressure to stay young forever. As the years passed, subtle cosmetic enhancements gradually began to alter the familiar face fans had known for decades. Fillers added volume to her cheeks, softening the natural angles that once defined her look. Eventually, the change became noticeable. Her face appeared fuller, rounder, a contrast to the sleek structure that had once framed Monica Geller's iconic expressions. But what makes Courteney Cox's story stand out among many others is what happened next. She chose honesty. In interviews, Courteney openly admitted that cosmetic procedures had slowly accumulated over time. Each adjustment seemed small on its own, but together they began changing her face in ways she hadn't fully realized. She described how easy it is to fall into that cycle. You look in the mirror and think you look fine. Someone suggests a little more filler, then a little more, and suddenly you realize something feels off. Her conclusion was refreshingly direct. I messed up. Rather than continuing down that path, Courteney made a decision that few celebrities publicly talk about. She dissolved the fillers. The process reversed much of the volume that had changed her appearance, allowing her natural facial structure to return. She even considered sharing before and after photos publicly as a warning about how easy it is to go too far. In doing so, Courteney Cox became something rare in Hollywood. Not just a cautionary tale, but a reminder that sometimes the most powerful transformation is knowing when to stop. Meg Ryan. Before social media debates and endless celebrity analysis, Meg Ryan was simply known as America's sweetheart. Throughout the late 1980s and 1990s, she dominated the romantic comedy genre in a way few actresses ever have. Films like When Harry Met Sally, Sleepless in Seattle, and You've Got Mail turned her into the face of love stories for an entire generation. But Meg Ryan's appeal wasn't just about the scripts she chose. It was her warmth. Her messy blonde haircut became instantly recognizable. Her bright blue eyes sparkled with playful intelligence. And her famously crinkly smile, slightly imperfect, completely genuine, made audiences feel like they were watching a real person rather than a polished movie star. Women across America carried photos of that haircut into salons. Meg Ryan's look defined an era. But over time, something about that familiar face began to change. Fans noticed that her cheeks appeared significantly fuller, especially when she smiled. The added volume seemed to push upward toward her eyes, altering the natural balance that once made her expressions feel so spontaneous and relaxed. The transformation quickly became a topic of conversation across entertainment media. Yet Meg Ryan herself has rarely accepted the narrative that she somehow ruined her beauty. Instead, she has consistently pushed back against the idea that aging actresses owe the public an explanation for how they look. She once described the concept of a movie star as something that exists largely in people's imaginations, a projection created by audiences rather than a real person. And perhaps the most surprising detail about Meg Ryan has nothing to do with cosmetic procedures at all. Long before Hollywood discovered her, she was studying journalism at New York University. Acting was never the original plan. She began appearing in television commercials simply as a way to earn extra money while finishing school. Then something unexpected happened. Those small acting jobs turned into film roles. Those film roles turned into international success. Meg Ryan even changed her name along the way. Born Margaret Hyra, she adopted the surname Ryan from her grandmother's maiden name when she registered with the Screen Actors Guild. In other words, the woman the world came to know as America's sweetheart was already reinventing herself long before anyone started talking about her face. Madonna. When people talk about women who changed pop culture forever, one name almost always comes first: Madonna. She wasn't just a singer. She was a revolution. Throughout the 1980s and 1990s, Madonna constantly reinvented herself, musically, stylistically, and visually. She set trends instead of following them, becoming the blueprint for female power in the modern music industry. Her look was never delicate or traditionally soft. Madonna's beauty had strength, a defined jawline, bold eyebrows, piercing, defiant eyes that seemed to challenge anyone watching. There was nothing generic about her face. It carried the same rebellious energy that defined her music. But in recent years, the conversation around Madonna shifted dramatically. For years, subtle changes had already sparked speculation about cosmetic procedures. But the moment that stunned the entire world arrived at the 2023 Grammy Awards. When Madonna walked onto the stage, many viewers struggled to recognize her at first. Her cheeks appeared lifted high toward her eyes. Her jawline looked softer beneath heavy volume. The natural architecture of her face seemed buried beneath layers of fillers. Within minutes, social media exploded with reactions. Medical experts began analyzing photographs, suggesting that the appearance likely resulted from a combination of multiple facelifts and significant overfilling. But Madonna responded the way Madonna always has, with defiance. She criticized the public's obsession with her appearance and rejected the idea that she owed anyone an explanation for how she chooses to look. Yet behind the scenes, something interesting happened. Insiders in the aesthetic industry later reported that Madonna quietly underwent procedures to dissolve much of the excess filler, gradually restoring a more balanced appearance. It was never publicly announced. There was no press release. Just a subtle shift that many observers eventually began to notice. And in that quiet moment, far away from cameras and headlines, Madonna revealed something surprisingly human. Even icons sometimes realize when enough is enough. Because behind every legend is still a person learning, adapting, and changing just like everyone else. Priscilla Presley. Few women in American pop culture carried the aura of royalty quite like Priscilla Presley. As the young bride of Elvis Presley, she stepped into the spotlight as part of one of the most famous couples in entertainment history. With her porcelain skin, jet black hair, and perfectly lined feline eyes, Priscilla became an icon of glamorous 1960s beauty. She looked almost like a living doll. Everything about her appearance felt carefully polished, elegant, mysterious, and completely unforgettable. Even after her marriage to Elvis ended, Priscilla built a successful career of her own, appearing in the television drama Dallas and later winning over audiences with her comedic roles in the Naked Gun films. For decades, she remained a symbol of timeless Hollywood glamour. But behind that image was a pressure few people truly understood. Priscilla later revealed that maintaining perfection had become so overwhelming that even during the birth of her daughter, Lisa Marie Presley, she felt the need to stop and apply false eyelashes before heading to the hospital. That level of pressure can change how a person sees themselves. Over the years, noticeable changes appeared in Priscilla's face. Heavy facial fillers created a swollen, rigid look that altered the delicate proportions that once defined her beauty. But what makes her story truly disturbing is the reason behind it. Priscilla later became one of the victims of a cosmetic fraud scheme run by a man named Daniel Serrano. Serrano hosted private injection parties in Beverly Hills, promising wealthy clients an advanced European anti-aging treatment. Instead, he was secretly injecting them with industrial-grade silicone, the same type used to lubricate mechanical parts. The consequences were devastating. Several victims, including Priscilla, suffered permanent facial damage and required painful reconstructive procedures to repair the harm. Serrano was eventually arrested and sentenced to prison. But for Priscilla Presley, the damage could never be completely undone. Her story remains one of the most chilling examples of how the pursuit of beauty, especially in a city obsessed with perfection, can sometimes lead to consequences far darker than anyone expected. Lisa Rinna. If there is one face in Hollywood that people instantly recognize from a single feature, it might be Lisa Rinna's lips. For decades, that signature pout became her trademark. Lisa first rose to fame as Billie Reed on Days of Our Lives, where her energetic personality and striking beauty made her a daytime television favorite. She later expanded her career with roles on Melrose Place and eventually became one of the most outspoken personalities on The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. But long before reality television and viral interviews, Lisa Rinna was simply known as a naturally beautiful actress. She had glowing skin, bright, expressive eyes, and a wide smile that made her feel approachable and charismatic on screen. Then one decision changed everything. At just 24 years old, after watching the film Beaches, Lisa became fascinated by actress Barbara Hershey's lips. Inspired by that look, she decided to enhance her own. Instead of temporary fillers, she received permanent silicone injections in her upper lip. At the time, it seemed like a small cosmetic adjustment. But silicone behaves very differently from modern fillers. Over the years, the material slowly migrated and hardened beneath the surface of her lip, creating the exaggerated volume that would later become her defining feature. Eventually, Lisa began experiencing complications that required corrective surgery. She later described the sensation as feeling like small peas trapped inside her lips. To fix the damage, doctors had to surgically remove hardened silicone and scar tissue from her mouth, a painful procedure that took years to fully recover from. Unlike many celebrities who try to hide these experiences, Lisa Rinna eventually spoke about it openly. In fact, she admitted something surprisingly honest. "I went too far," she once said. It was a rare moment of self-awareness in an industry where most people avoid admitting cosmetic mistakes. Lisa's story has since become one of the most frequently cited cautionary tales about early cosmetic procedures in Hollywood. Because what began as a simple attempt to enhance one feature ended up defining her appearance for the rest of her life. Novak. Some stories on this list are dramatic. Some are controversial. But Kim Novak's story is simply heartbreaking. In the golden age of Hollywood, Kim Novak was the definition of cinematic elegance. Alfred Hitchcock cast her in the haunting masterpiece Vertigo in 1958, a role that would cement her place among the most unforgettable screen goddesses of all time. She possessed a beauty that felt almost mysterious. Soft, luminous skin, graceful cheek contours, perfectly arched brows that framed eyes filled with quiet intensity. Nothing about Kim Novak's face looked manufactured. Her beauty felt natural, almost fragile, like something that belonged to another era entirely, which is why what happened decades later shocked the world. In 2014, at the Academy Awards, Kim Novak stepped onto the stage to present an award at 81 years old. Within seconds, the internet erupted. The reaction was immediate and brutal. Her face appeared unusually rigid. Her lips seemed inflated. Her cheeks heavily treated, altering the delicate proportions that once defined her iconic look. The audience gasped. Social media exploded with criticism. But in the middle of all that cruelty, one crucial truth was almost completely ignored. Kim Novak had spent years fighting battles far greater than aging. She survived breast cancer. She endured a severe horse riding accident that left lasting injuries. And she struggled with bipolar disorder, stepping away from Hollywood decades earlier to live quietly on a ranch where she painted and raised animals. The woman who stood on that Oscar stage was not chasing fame. She was simply a survivor returning briefly to the world she once helped define. And perhaps that is the part of the story people should remember most. Because Kim Novak didn't walk onto that stage as a cautionary tale about beauty. She walked onto that stage as proof that life after Hollywood can still be lived with quiet strength. Heather Locklear. If television had a queen of glamorous villains in the 1990s, it was Heather Locklear. From her unforgettable role as the scheming Sammy Jo on Dynasty to the ruthless, magnetic Amanda Woodward on Melrose Place, Heather possessed something rare in Hollywood: the ability to completely dominate every scene she appeared in. And the camera absolutely adored her. Feathered golden hair framed her face perfectly. Her cheekbones were naturally high and elegant. Her jawline sleek and balanced. Heather Locklear had the kind of classic television beauty that didn't need dramatic angles or heavy styling. She simply walked into a room and the attention followed. For years, that image barely changed. But as the decades passed, subtle differences began to emerge. Photos from more recent appearances showed the sharp definition of her Melrose Place era gradually softening. The once crisp architecture of her cheekbones appeared fuller, smoother, and noticeably rounder than fans remembered. The transformation surprised many viewers who had grown up watching her on television. Yet what makes Heather Locklear's story different from many others on this list is what happened afterward. Because instead of avoiding the conversation, Heather eventually spoke openly about the personal struggles she had been facing behind the scenes. Addiction, mental health battles, and the difficult road of recovery. In interviews during recent years, she reflected honestly on that period of her life and the decisions made along the way. Rather than pretending nothing had happened, Heather acknowledged the journey. She spoke about healing, about learning from difficult chapters, and about finding stability again after years of chaos. And in 2025, the woman who re-emerged felt different. Not the perfectly polished television star audiences once knew, but someone more grounded, more reflective, and perhaps more authentic than ever before. Because sometimes the most beautiful transformation in Hollywood isn't about restoring a face. It's about rebuilding a life. Goldie Hawn. Before Hollywood became obsessed with perfection, Goldie Hawn represented something far more powerful. But from the moment she burst onto the screen in the late 1960s, Goldie radiated a kind of infectious energy that audiences instantly fell in love with. Her Oscar-winning performance in Cactus Flower proved she was far more than just a bubbly personality, and films like Private Benjamin and Overboard turned her into one of the most beloved comedic stars of her generation. But what made Goldie unforgettable wasn't flawless symmetry or sculpted angles. It was life. Those enormous, expressive blue eyes. Her spontaneous laugh. A face that seemed to glow whenever she smiled. Goldie's beauty never felt technical. It felt human, warm, spontaneous, impossible not to adore. Which is why the reaction years later caught so many fans off guard. When Goldie appeared at the 2024 and 2025 Academy Awards, the internet lit up almost immediately. Viewers noticed her skin appeared unusually tight, while her cheeks seemed noticeably fuller, creating a contrast aesthetic experts recognize instantly, stretched along the surface, yet heavily filled beneath. The added volume appeared to crowd the very feature that once made her so iconic, those giant sparkling eyes. For longtime fans, it was jarring. But Goldie herself seemed entirely unbothered by the conversation. Throughout her career, she has always approached life with the same philosophy: keep moving, keep growing, keep embracing change. And perhaps the sweetest detail about that Oscar appearance had nothing to do with her own spotlight at all. Goldie and longtime partner Kurt Russell weren't even there for themselves. They were there to quietly support their daughter, Kate Hudson, whose performance had earned major award attention. While the world debated Goldie Hawn's appearance online, she was backstage doing what she has done for decades, cheering for the people she loves. Which, in many ways, perfectly captures who Goldie Hawn has always been. A woman whose greatest legacy was never just her beauty, but the joy she brought with it. From Daryl Hannah quietly disappearing from Hollywood, to the terrifying scam that permanently altered Priscilla Presley's face, to Courteney Cox bravely dissolving everything and telling the truth, these stories were never just about beauty. They're about fear of aging, about mirrors that slowly start lying, and about an industry that demanded perfection from women who were already more than enough. But something hopeful is beginning to happen. More women are choosing to reverse the fillers instead of adding more. More voices are finally speaking honestly about the mistakes. And maybe that's the real transformation. Now I want to ask you something. Which transformation shocked you the most? Drop her name in the comments. I read every single one. And if you love uncovering the real stories behind classic Hollywood legends, make sure you subscribe right now, because the next story we're working on might surprise you even more.